Everything in my life changed. Everything. My personality, my family, my studies, even my friends. I'm living like a different person.
其实新疆的主要矛盾不是反恐问题，也不是恐怖主义问题，新疆的主要矛盾是权力问题，权力的不平等，权力被这些既得利益集团控制和垄断，而这种权力资源的垄断，通过这个它垄断了各种发展的资源，包括社会资源。那么，所以
I don't have much idea of what he was doing, but like I knew that he was doing something, as he said, for our people. There will be sometimes strangers come into our apartment and talk to him like for 5-6 hours. I start to complain, you don't spend time with us and you just only know to how to start clicking the keyboard on the computer. All you care about is your computer. And I used to complain a lot. My stepmother also complained. My brothers complained. That's the thing that I regret about a lot too. I should have been more supportive at that time. And my dad said one day you would understand. And I understand now.
The Uyghurs have suffered tremendously inside the People's Republic of China. Ilham Tohti has called attention to that. He has not been demanding separatism, but demanding open information, open knowledge about what has happened to the Uyghurs, what their situation is. In 2009, when there were mass protests, people were arrested and disappeared, Ilham wanted an accounting of what had happened. He was addressing issues that they did not want addressed. And of course they warned him.
其实网站开始初期，我当时有一种面对，虽然问题想的没那么严重，但越来越08年有过，对，08年有过，今年这种语气更强烈，然后75的时候就让点出来，虽然我知道他的指控是没有道理的，但呢我就有更那种糟糕的准备，心理准备。但是到目前为止，虽然经历了很多压力、很多磨难，然后说你一样，包括我的家庭，包括新疆的亲人、朋友，已经在生活层面上都影响了。
My dad was invited by you as a visiting scholar, and then he asked me, "Do you want to go to US for a vacation for a month?"
I had invited him out of my intellectual respect for him and also out of friendship, and I thought he would really be an asset for us.
Our flight's supposed to be at 11:30, and then usually people just have to get to the airport at 9:30. But we went out of our apartment at 4 a.m. I asked him why. He told me, because then there will be less possibility that we are followed. The police might be sleeping. We didn't even want to drive our car. We didn't want to be followed. We checked our bags, we got our tickets. I remember I took a photo of my father in the airport. He was smiling, and then me and my dad, we were in such happiness that, oh, we finally made it. We just needed the stamp on the passport for allowing us get on the plane. At that time, they checked the computer. And the staff said, just wait, I have to call someone. Then a bunch of people with black suits came. They dragged my dad away. I was holding my dad's hand so tight. I was so afraid. The staff kept asking me, do I want to go? I didn't want to go at all. Then my dad started to speak in Uyghur. He didn't want them to understand. He said, I would prefer you to sweep the street in US than you stay here to suffer from them. He said, never come back, okay? Promise me.
When Jawhar first came to the United States, I picked her up at the Indianapolis airport, and she had not slept for 36 hours, and the last thing she'd seen in China was her father being taken away. She was now in the United States on her own, and her circumstances were very, very unclear. And she persevered. She is extremely hardworking, extremely diligent. She has both turned herself into a regular university student, and she hadn't come for that, and at the same time, a real spokesperson for her father and for his ideas. And I think he would be extremely proud of her.
They gave him life sentence. Life sentence.
What China is doing is extremely negative for China, is extremely negative for the Uyghurs, and it has ramifications beyond the borders of China. When you attack the moderates, as the Chinese state is doing, and attack them so harshly that someone like Ilham receives a life sentence for doing nothing that any liberal regime would consider a crime. In other words, he was simply expressing his opinion. When you do that, you leave the field open only to the extremists, who by definition are under the radar, and they become the only ones with whom the discontents of this population resonates. As a result, what China is doing is feeding extremism. So this is something which is very, very dangerous, and it's something the rest of the world really should pay attention to.
I think if more people internationally know about his case and know the truth, there's more possibility that we can release him one day. I think if I can ask him one question, I want to ask that if he knows that I'm trying to do all these things for him, and if he trusts me, that one day I can make it, I can succeed. I can finally get him out one day. I want to ask him if he believes in me and believes in other people who are trying to help him. I hope he believes.